Well, when a couple makes the decision to get a divorce, there are a lot of things to think about, especially if kids are involved. But here's one more thing to consider: the future. Talking retirement accounts, estate planning, and beneficiaries are all something that you plan for as a couple for the future, but now that future is over. Carissa Seidel is a family law attorney and partner with Jaburg Wilk, and she's here to explain the importance of paying attention to those details. And this is actually during the divorce process. Carissa, you were telling me that, we don't think about all of these things until, when we decide to get a divorce. But during the divorce process is not the time to change those. Is that correct?
Most beneficiary designations, correct.
Okay.
During the divorce, while the divorce is ongoing, in fact, there are rules that you can't change your designations on many accounts, such as retirement accounts, life insurance policies, those sorts of accounts. You have to maintain the current designation until the divorce is final.
That's just the rule. That's the law.
That's correct.
Okay. But here's the problem then. We forget. Right? But that's your job, right? Is to remind us to do that afterwards. So
correct.
What types of things that I had mentioned a couple things, retirement accounts and estate accounts. What are some of the other things that we need to think about to pay attention to change once the divorce is final?
Sure. A lot of times people forget about bank accounts. Joint bank accounts actually have a pay on death designation most of the time, and people don't think about who that beneficiary is. Life insurance policies, that one most people are thinking about because there's a substantial amount of money behind it.
Right.
But another smaller one is a health savings account associated with your employer, or a life insurance policy through your employer as well.
Right. Power of attorneys. Health directives could, because you have, we were actually chatting earlier, that would be really bad, right? You're divorced and your ex can, make the choice to pull the plug, and you don't want that.
Correct. A lot of people have healthcare power of attorneys, living wills, durable powers of attorney, those things you want to look at, and that you actually can change while the divorce is going on. And in fact, you want to change that if your estranged spouse is your designated power of attorney. The last thing you would want is something tragic happens to you while the divorce is ongoing, and your estranged spouse is making medical decisions about whether to save or not save your life.
Right, right. You don't want, nobody wants that. And you also gave me a good example earlier of someone who forgot to change the directive of their bank account. Tell me what happened and how. This is what you don't want to have happen.
Sure. I did have a case, and without it getting into too many of the details because I can't, but one of the spouses continued to use the former joint bank account. It was her choice to continue to use it, but something happened to her about 2 years after the divorce, and there was a substantial amount of money sitting in that joint bank account, former joint bank account. She had never changed her pay on death designation, and that money went back to her former spouse, her husband, who then found himself being sued by the former wife's family in a probate dispute because they wanted the money that was sitting in that account.
Right, and it can turn into such a mess, right?
Correct.
And this is where you come in. You try and make sure that we have all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed, because as we just learned, there are certain things you can do during the divorce, certain things you must do afterwards.
Correct, correct. So we actually follow up with our clients afterwards with a letter that reminds them of all the things that they need to do when that divorce is final, because it can be a long process, and sometimes we forget, and we forget that, oh, I need to change this. But one of the points that I wanted to point out is don't just call them on the telephone and say, hey, I need to change my beneficiary designation. A lot of these companies are going to require an actual handwritten hard copy that is submitted to the holder of the account.
All right. Excellent information, Carissa. Thank you so much. And Jaburg Wilk, they are here to help you and any of your family law needs. They're at 3200 North Central Avenue, Suite 2000 in Phoenix, 602-248-1000. Learn more at jaburgwilk.com.